We've seen countless Easter eggs in Marvel and DC movies over the years, but what about in comic books? They might not be as common as they are in movies, but that's what makes them all the more awesome when you can spot them. Before we get started though, if you haven't already subscribed to CBR, now's your chance. No pressure or anything, but come on. All the cool kids are doing it. All set? Great, let's do this.
And here we go.
Superman/Batman Annual Number 1, Deadpool. Who is the one comic book character in all comic books that has zero restrictions on what he does, what he says, and where he goes? Everyone say it with me, Deadpool.
Oh, hello. I know, right?
In Superman/Batman Annual Number 1, an interdimensional rift opens up and gives way to alternate versions of superheroes and villains. One such character emerges as the good version of the villain Deathstroke. We never do catch his name because every time he's about to say it, he gets interrupted by a barrage of bullets or a sword through his skull. But throughout the story, this character repeatedly gets pummeled, all the while regenerating from his injuries and wisecracking the whole time, so it's not difficult to figure out who it is. After all, the creation of Deadpool was most definitely inspired by Deathstroke, so it makes sense that he should pop up as the alternate Deathstroke in the comic. But Deadpool breaks all the rules of writing, so he can pop up wherever he likes anyway.
You might want to look away for this. Now this little piggy went to...
X-Men number 105, The Creators. One of the coolest parts about creating comic books has to be the freedom to put yourself into those worlds. That's exactly what creators Chris Claremont and Dave Cockrum did in X-Men number 105. In the comic, we see Chris and Dave sitting outside together working on what seems to be a new issue of X-Men. Then suddenly they find themselves caught in the middle of a fight between, you guessed it, X-Men characters. Firelord comes crashing down out of the sky, sending the onlookers fleeing in terror. Well, everyone except for Chris, who doesn't seem to notice the fiery explosions all around him. It's a funny scene on its own, but it's so much better knowing that the people running for their lives are the people who wrote and penciled the scene they're running from. Star Trek Countdown, Bad Robot. If you've ever sat through the credits of such shows like Alias, Lost, or Westworld, you may have been treated to an adorable yet creepy red robot. That's because Bad Robot is the production company owned by J.J. Abrams. You may also recognize the little guy from the post-credits of films that Abrams has worked on, such as Star Wars The Force Awakens and Star Trek Beyond. You can even find the Bad Robot hidden in an issue of Star Trek Countdown. In this comic book prequel to the 2009 film Star Trek, artist David Messina snuck the robot into a panel during a meeting between Spock and Picard. He can be seen in the bottom right corner, nonchalantly doing whatever it is bad robots do. Maybe he's putting together a robot army to fight the Avengers.
I had strings, but now I'm free.
The Incredible Hulk number 438, Pinky and the Brain. For those of you unfortunate enough to miss out on 90s cartoons, Pinky and the Brain was a recurring animated short first featured on Animaniacs, then later made into its own TV show. It starred two lab mice that had been genetically altered, which resulted in one becoming really smart and the other one, well, not so smart.
How close are we to the ground, Pinky?
It looks like a foot.
They also appear as an Easter egg in The Incredible Hulk number 438. Jailbait stands in Omnibus's lab looking at two mice in a cage and points out that the one with the big head is creepy. She asks Hotshot what he thinks the mouse will do tonight, and he replies, probably the same thing he does every night, whatever that is. This is a reference to the exchange that Pinky and the Brain have in every episode. When Pinky asks what they're gonna do tonight, Brain replies, the same thing we do every night, Pinky. Try to take over the world. Green Lantern number 25, The Simpsons movie. When Abe Simpson is seemingly possessed in church and spouting nonsense, Marge takes it upon herself to find out what it all means. She asks Comic Book Guy if he has any answers, and he does provide insight into one thing Abe said. Eepaw! He tells Marge that Eepaw is the sound that Green Lantern made when Sinestro threw him into a vat of acid. It's not exactly the answer she was looking for, but it's not far from the truth. The movie aired in 2007, and Green Lantern number 25 came out later that year. In it, Green Lantern's ring is running low on power, and Sinestro is closing in fast. As Sinestro flies over and shoots at him, Green Lantern jumps from the roof of a building and yells, "Eepa! Eepa! Eepa!" Strange Adventures number 216, Jim Steranko. In this 1969 DC comic, Neil Adams pays homage to one of the most innovative artists in comic books, Jim Steranko. Jim Steranko, of course, is the legendary graphic artist and comic book writer most famous for his work with Nick Fury, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. His work was extremely inventive in the Silver Age of comics, pioneering new art techniques like psychedelia and op art. His style of art is almost a reflection of his time as an illusionist during his early 20s. In this Neil Adams Strange Adventures comic, red rays rise up and fill the panel. They look like normal rays from afar, but upon closer investigation, one can make out some writing within those rays. It spells out, "Hey, a Jim Steranko effect." Mike Grell also pays tribute to Steranko in Superboy and the Legion of Superheroes number 216. In his work, a giant explosion reads, "Holy cow, dig the fireworks." Wildcats number 8, Jean Grey and Scott Summers. Everyone's favorite Phoenix and Cyclops finally tied the knot in 1994's X-Men number 30. After that, it was time for their honeymoon, and they wanted to get away so badly that they went all the way to an entirely different comic book.
See ya.
Wildcats Volume 1 number 8, also released in 1994, features a scene with Scott Summers and Jean Grey enjoying some much-needed R&R. Suddenly, something strange begins to happen to someone nearby. Scott is ready to jump into action, but Jean will be damned if she lets anything get in the way of their honeymoon. It doesn't take much convincing from Jean to convince him to sit this one out. One look back at the gorgeous redhead in that green bikini, and he's mesmerized. No need to use her psychic powers for this one. Sensational She-Hulk number 39, Barney Rubble. John Byrne is well known in the comic book industry for his amazing artwork, especially the way he draws Rubble. Barney Rubble, that is.
Rubble's residence, Barney speaking.
In a lot of his early work, Byrne would hide a drawing of Barney Rubble from the Flintstones inside his drawings of actual Rubble. Readers began to catch on, however, so he started doing it less and less. He wanted it to be a fun Easter egg for anyone who happened to spot it, but if he included it in all of his work, then it wouldn't be special anymore. As a result, he stopped including Barney in a lot of his work, but if he did something fun like that in the past, there's no telling what secrets are hiding in his modern work. One example of his Barney Rubble Easter eggs can be found in the Sensational She-Hulk number 39. We'll let you pause the video and see if you can spot the drawing yourself. Let us know in the comments if you can find it. Hitman number 22, Mr. Burns and Smithers. In this Hitman Christmas special, a worker at a nuclear power plant becomes exposed to radioactivity and, dressed as Santa Claus, begins to go on a rampage throughout Gotham City. I feel a Weird Al Yankovic song coming on. All of this could have been avoided if the owner of the plant wasn't so obsessed with money, leading him to cut corners on safety measures. The owner, by the way, looks suspiciously like Mr. Burns from The Simpsons.
Well, for once, the rich white man is in control.
The bird beak nose is a dead giveaway. In fact, his assistant in the comic looks exactly like Smithers from The Simpsons as well. Although it never says their names in the comic book, their dialogue and their looks all point to a Simpsons Easter egg. Not to mention the fact that they both work at the nuclear power plant. The only thing that's missing is a fat yellow guy carrying a pink sprinkled donut.
Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god.
Marvel Knights, Spider-Man number 1, The Office. After his first appearance in Amazing Fantasy number 15 in 1962, Spider-Man quickly became what is quite possibly Marvel's most beloved superhero.
Who are you?
You know who I am.
I do.
Your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
He has appeared in countless comic books, hundreds of TV episodes, and of course a handful of theatrical movies, including the new Spider-Man Homecoming movie. For this Easter egg, though, we take a look back at 2004's Marvel Knights, Spider-Man number 1 comic book. As the web-slinger is swinging over to Aunt May's new apartment, we get a quick glimpse inside one of the office buildings he passes. As it turns out, it's not just any office building, it's the office building. Fans of The Office UK will recognize Don, Tim, Gareth, and the boss man himself, David Brent, all hard at work selling paper. If you're a fan of the US version of The Office, you may know them all better as Pam, Jim, Dwight, and Michael Scott, respectively.
Gotta say, that's awesome.
Have you found any Easter eggs in comic books? Let us know where in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe to CBR if you didn't do it at the beginning of this video, even though we asked you nicely. Thumbs up if you like this, comment if you love this, and keep it locked here to catch even more fantastical videos like this one.